Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to be talking about three players in particular: Willie Lampkin IV, Matthew Stafford, and Alaric Jackson. We got some updates from Sean McVay and company. So before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. So let's talk about it. Willie Lampkin IV, probably one of my more favorite UDFAs that have come around in quite some time. I mean, put him up there with the likes of Corey Littleton for sure, and Sean Dolak as well, who's currently on this roster. But all jokes aside, Willie Lampkin IV is going to miss a few weeks, according to Sean McVay. He called it an injured knee and a sprained ankle. He said he's very tough, and he's going to miss a few weeks. Now, I understand some people will look at this and say this is terrible, right? Obviously, this is a player that you want to see get reps. Probably wanted to see him against the Browns on Saturday. But I'm here to tell you that this is probably, if you were hoping and you weren't exactly sure if Willie Lampkin IV was going to make this roster, this just increased his chances of doing so. I believe the Rams now are in a position where they could strategically buy themselves some time. They can place him on the reserve, physically unable to perform list. I've brought this up numerous times about Alaric Jackson. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they can stash him for 4 weeks and then slide him either onto the 53-man roster after the fact, or if they're like, yeah, he's not quite 53-man roster ready, well, they could also cut him and try and slide him on the practice squad. Now, here's the deal. Willie Lampkin IV is being talked about way too much, where if the Rams tried and cut him right now and slide him on through the practice squad, he simply wouldn't make it through. There's no way a team wouldn't at least claim him for a day, put him on the 53, and then place him on the PUP list or IR or what have you. Here's the deal. I believe that the longer you wait, maybe I'm wrong for this, but I think it checks out. The longer you wait after cut day to cut a player, whether it's from this draft or the previous draft class, the longer you wait, the more likely you are to be able to retain that player. The reason being, it's all a stock game. If you release Willie Lampkin just a week or two after this guy was one of the top performers in the league for preseason at offensive line, Pat McAfee's doing a whole feature on him. Other teams are going to pounce. The question was never if it was never about if this guy can play in this league. Is he talented enough? He's talented enough. The question was, is the size going to translate? And sure enough, it did. And we all saw it. So now that the Rams have been the guinea pig here and they have tested out Willie Lampkin, it would be stupid for them, and I will not hold back on that, stupid for them to release him and let another team go out and get him because they didn't have to take the risk. They didn't spend any time developing him. The Rams did. They're the ones that took the plunge going after a 5'10", 5'11" center, and it's worked out. So I believe this is good news for Willie Lampkin. He's going to be around for a while. I'd be shocked if the Rams just outright cut him, but I guess stranger things have happened. I imagine he's going to go on the reserve, physically on the form list. And I'll also say this, because people have asked me, hey, Jake, how many players can go on the PUP list at a time? There's an infinite amount of players that can go on the PUP list, but the catch is you miss the first 4 games of the season. That is the catch. So just stashing guys there isn't necessarily, also they have to be injured. You can't just, I don't want to cut that player, so I'm just going to stash him on the PUP list. Doesn't work that way. He has to be injured. And Willie Lampkin, he's banged up for sure. So I think in a weird way, this is potentially good news for Lampkin. I think, I don't know for sure if he was going to make the roster. I felt like he was. Didn't feel like 100%, but I felt like more 70 to 80%. This increases the likelihood for sure. So we move on to the next portion of this, and it's Matthew Stafford, who once again practiced, and look, he looked good. 2 days in a row, McVay mentioned he felt he looked better today than yesterday. They expanded, the workout. Essentially, he was, doing individual drills. He was doing team drills, and they're asking him to, have some poise in the pocket and step up and, have some mobility. And they were really testing him out, and he responded well, according to McVay. So that's really good news. Again, on Stafford, it's just me pushing it back to you guys. I personally was never worried. I'm still not worried. And it's just me saying what happened. Because as far as I'm concerned, I am just excited to see him take on CJ Stroud in the opener against the Texans. I'm just assuming he's going to play. If he doesn't play, then I'll be worried or I'll be a little concerned. But that's not happening. So, yeah. Anyway, we move on. Alaric Jackson. Alaric Jackson got an update from McVay, who is hopeful that he would be able to, be available for the opener against the Texans. Now, I'm going to push back on this. This doesn't sound like, it sounds like a whole lot of nothing. So, hear me out. McVay is hopeful that he would be available for the opener against the Texans. Hopeful would be. There's nothing being said there, right? So obviously McVay could have said it in a different way and, maybe meant it differently, whatever. But Alaric Jackson, I mean, he could make the roster. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going on the PUP list as well as Willie Lampkin. Reason being is because if he's not ready to go, why rush him back? You need him not for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You need him for week 15, 16, 17, all the way on to the Super Bowl. That's when you need him. And you have a guy in DJ Humphries who has a lot of starts in this league. He's well experienced, and he did a really nice job in the joint practices. So I wouldn't be rushing him back. I don't think the Rams are going to. I don't care what this report says. It's a nothing burger, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm going to say that I'm going to stick by it. I think he ends up on the PUP list. He misses the first 4 weeks, and they get him back week 5, and he's ready to go. But I think DJ Humphries is going to start for the Rams at left tackle for the first 4 weeks of the season. That's just what I believe. And then the last thing here, we got an update. No joint practice this week versus the Browns. The Browns couldn't fit in their schedule. Lord knows what the Browns are doing, right? But McVay basically said he's going to try and simulate the workload of a joint practice next Thursday. So that's like a ramp up period, what have you. But all in all, pretty good stuff. It's good to know that Willie Lampkin isn't going to miss the entire season. We were really not hearing anything on him, so I was a little concerned there. This sounds like they want to keep him around, and he's going to go on the PUP list. Alaric Jackson, I'll believe it when I see it type deal. And then Matthew Stafford, no worries whatsoever. Sounds like he's progressing. And then we move, right? I think the big thing here is that people kept saying, and it was not necessarily reports, but I think people just keep pushing bad, false narratives about him having a herniated disc instead of an aggravated disc. I feel like those are quite a bit different. I've never had either, knock on wood, but it just feels like every time somebody's talking about Stafford that isn't a Rams fan and they have some skin in the game, whether, Seahawks, 49ers, what have you, it seems like it's heavily dramatized. I'm not saying that the back injury can't be anything. I'm not saying it can't linger throughout the year. But my biggest thing has always been, I know if something is there, Stafford is going to play through it. He played through it at the end of last year too. Look at the hits he took against the Eagles. And yet he was still able to deliver that incredible football to Puka Nacua in a blizzard. So no, I'm not worried about Glock 9, and I don't think I'll ever be worried about Glock 9. I will be worried about the Rams when he hangs it up, but until then, I'm not worried about Matthew Stafford at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later. All right, guys. So once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the nine. So definitely check it out over on the Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.